Hi everyone, welcome. The new episode, the new live stream on Twitch has been started right now. Hi everyone, I'm your host Peter. I'm the owner of my own Peter's English podcast. My Peter's English podcast is my own English podcast about learning English, writing, streaming, and recording my own English novel Viera, the Vampire Girl Diary. At first I want to introduce myself. I'm Peter, I'm 34 years old. I live in East Slovakia. I like learning English. I want to speak English because I want to live without language barriers. I want to have better paid job. I want to change my life. I want to travel a lot. I want to visit foreign countries. I want to meet other learners of English who like learning English, doing their own English podcast and writing their own English novel. I've been learning English since August 2022. I like watching movies and series in English. I like listening to my favorite English podcasts and audiobooks in English. And I like doing my own Peter's English podcast. And I like writing, streaming, and recording my new novel Viera, the Vampire Girl Diary. Momentarily, I'm creating chapters for season 2 of my novel Viera, the Vampire Girl Diary. This episode This episode is inspired by Luke's English podcast reading episode where Luke is reading interesting stories in English, and I decided to use the help of AI chatbots. AI chatbots has created four interesting, funny, and wild and crazy stories inspired by my novel Viera, the Vampire Girl Diary. I want to read you these stories and then I want to analyze with the help of AI chatbots. I've been starting the first story. The first story is called Viera's Velvet House. It was inspired by my novel Viera, the Vampire Girl Diary, and it's created by Microsoft Copilot. I'm going to read it right now. Viera's Velvet House. In the ancient halls of the Vampire Academy, where chandeliers flickered and Latin textbooks gathered dust, Viera the Vampire Girl was having a day. Not a normal day, a Viera day. The kind that started with rebellion and ended with someone getting tomatoed. Latin again, Viera groaned, slumping into her desk. Ave Maria gratia plena, blah blah blah. I swear if I hear one more declaration, I'll bite the chalkboard. Her twin sister Lucia, ever the obedient one, whispered, Shh, you'll get asked detention again. Lucia, sweetie, detention is just free time with better acoustics, Viera smirked. Suddenly the classroom door creaked open. In walked Peter, Viera's boyfriend, half vampire, half human, full heartthrob. He wore a leather jacket over his school uniform and carried a suspiciously long extension cord. Hey babe, he said, sliding into the seat next to her. I rerouted the mesh signal from the basement. Latin class now has Wi-Fi. You're a genius, Viera whispered. A sexy signal boosting genius. Don't flatter me. I also brought snacks, Peter said, pulling out a bag of garlic-free chips. From the front of the room, Professor Zofia, Viera's grandmother and the strictest Latin teacher in the realm, cleared her throat. Class, today we conjugate emer. Do tu lau, something most of you clearly don't understand. Viera raised her hand. Professor, is it emo amas amat or I'm bored, you're boring, she's a bore? Zofia narrowed her eyes. Viera, I will not tolerate sass. Then should leave, Viera muttered. Lucia gasped. Peter snorted. The classroom erupted in whispers. After class, the gang gathered in the courtyard. Agnieszka, the redhead with a vendetta against boys. Miroslava, the blonde dominatrix who once made a teacher cry. And of course, Viera and Peter. I have a plan, Viera announced. We're going to prank the entire school. Lucia blinked. Why? Because Latin is a disease and laughter is the cure. Peter nodded. I mean, but only if I get to wear the mesh crown. You already do, Viera winked. The plan was simple. Swap the Latin exam papers with love letters, reroute the school's Wi-Fi to stream The Simpsons, and replace the morning bell with Peter's podcast intro. At midnight, they snuck into the headmaster's office. Viera picked the lock with a hairpin. Peter plugged in his mesh extender. Agnieszka wrote fake love letters in perfect cursive. Miroslava adjusted the bell system with terrifying precision. Lucia stood guard, nervously chewing her nails. This is a madness. No, Viera said, this is legacy. The next morning, house reigned. Students opened their Latin exams to find romantic confessions. The Wi-Fi blasted the Simpsons theme song. The bell rang with Peter's voice. Welcome to Velvet Rebellion Radio. Today's topic, why Latin is overrated and garlic is misunderstood. Professor Zofia fainted. Lord Vladimir Orsak, Viera's great-grandfather and ruler of the Vamparion, stormed into the school with his cape billowing like a thundercloud. Who is responsible for this? He roared. Viera stepped forward. Me! And my gang, and my boyfriend, and maybe Lucia, but she was just emotionally supportive. Vladimir sighed. You are my blood, but even blood must answer for its crimes. Peter raised his hand. Technically, I'm half-blood. Can I have half punishment? Silence, mortal, Vladimir snapped. The punishment was swift. 2 days in the cage of shame, dressed in white robes, hair shaved, and signs that read, I conjugated house, throw and tomatoes. Viera, Peter, Lucia, Agnieszka, and Miroslava stood in the town square, tomato-stained and humiliated. This is ridiculous, Peter whispered. I boosted the signal, I didn't sabotage Latin. You boosted rebellion, Viera said proudly, and that's why I love you. Lucia cried. Agnieszka cursed. Miroslava threatened to bite someone. But then something changed. The crowd began to laugh, not mockingly, but joyfully. Students started quoting Peter's podcast. Teachers admitted Latin was boring. Even Vladimir cracked a smile. After 2 days, the gang was released. Their punishment became legend, their prank became tradition, and Latin class, it got a makeover. Now, students learned grammar through vampire history. Wi-Fi was strong. The morning bell played Velvet Rebellion Radio, and Viera, she taught a class called Creative House 101. Peter sat in the front row, taking notes and occasionally adjusting the mesh signal. Lucia ran the school's podcast network. Agnieszka became a feminist poet. Miroslava taught vampire etiquette with a vibe and a wink. And Viera, she stood at the podium, cloak flowing, chalk in hand. Today's lesson, she said, is how to conjugate rebellion. And now people, grammar and vocabulary highlights created by Microsoft Copilot. Modal verbs. Must answer. Can I get. Should leave. Past tense narration with present tense punchlines. Dialogue text. Varied and expressive. Whispered, snort, roared. Vocabulary. Gothic flair. Cloak, billowing, conjugate house. Modern slang. Wi-Fi. Podcast. Mesh extender. Sentence variety. Short punchy line for humor. Longer descriptive ones for atmosphere. Okay, people. Translate with the help. You can translate this with the help of AI podcast of AI chatbots. Oh yes, I did. You cannot find it on my. Or I can ask. AI chatbots, if I can publish it on my website as the stories created by Microsoft Copilot for learning English, and we'll see later. And I want to continue. Wait a minute, where we are? Yes. I was reading Viera's Velvet House. And now, wait a minute. Okay. Here is. And now, people, I want to read you the second story created by Microsoft Copilot. The title is Viera Goes British, a Vampire Girl Abroad. This story was created by Microsoft Copilot for learning English, and it was inspired by my English novel Viera the Vampire Girl Diary. I'm going to read you right now. Viera Goes British, a Vampire Girl Abroad. Viera the Vampire Girl stood at the gates of St. Basil's Academy for Linguistic Excellence, clutching her suitcase and glaring at the sign that read, "Welcome, foreign students," in 5 languages. "I swear, if they make me conjugate verbs before breakfast, I'm flying home," she muttered. Beside her, Peter, her boyfriend, an unofficial mesh technician, adjusted his travel router. "Relax, babe. I boosted the signal. This place has Wi-Fi strong enough to stream garlic-free cooking shows." "Good," Viera said, "because I'm allergic to boredom." They had arrived in England as part of the Vampire Exchange program, a diplomatic effort to improve vampire-human relations through grammar, tea, and awkward cultural bonding. Inside the school, they were greeted by Luke, a cheerful British podcaster who wore tweed and spoke like every sentence was a TED Talk. "Hello, you must be Viera and Peter. I'm Luke, your host and English mentor. Welcome to the land of sarcasm, scones, and sentence structure." Viera blinked. "Do you always talk like that?" "Only when I'm awake," Luke grinned. Their first class was Advanced British Idioms. Luke stood at the front, gesturing widely. "Right then, today's phrase, Bob's your uncle. Any guesses?" Peter raised his hand. "Is Bob actually someone's uncle?" "No," Luke said. "It means there you go, or that's it. For example, plug in the router, press the button, and Bob's your uncle. Wi-Fi." Viera snorted. "In Slovakia we say hotovo. No uncles involved." "Brilliant," Luke clapped. "Now let's conjugate to fancy. Viera, your turn." Viera rolled her eyes. "I fancy rebellion. You fancy chaos. He fancies detention." Luke laughed. "You're a natural." Later that day, Viera and Peter explored the school grounds. The cafeteria served blood pudding literally. The library had a section called Grammar for the Undead. And the dorms had blackout curtains and garlic detectors. "This place is weird," Peter said. "It's British," Viera replied. "Everything's weird," with a smile. That evening, Luke invited them to record a podcast episode. "Let's talk about cultural differences," he said. "Viera, what's the weirdest thing about England?" Viera leaned into the mic. "People say sorry even when they're not sorry. Like, sorry I bumped into you. Sorry I exist. Sorry I'm breathing your air. It's suspicious." Luke chuckled. We're polite to a fault." Peter added. "Also, your plugs are massive. I needed 3 adapters just to charge my mesh extender." "Ah, yes," Luke said. "British engineering. Built to confuse foreigners." The next day, Viera was assigned a grammar duel against a local student named Beatrice, who wore pearls and corrected people for fun. "Your challenge," Luke announced, "is to use 5 irregular verbs in one sentence." Beatrice smirked. "I've chosen go, see, take, write, eat." Viera cracked her knuckles. "Watch and learn." She stood, cleared her throat, and declared, "I went to see a vampire who took my diary, wrote rude things in it, and ate my snacks." The room erupted in applause. Beatrice frowned. "Technically snacks is Wagyu," Technically, your face is Wagyu, Viera shot back. Luke gasped, savage, but grammatically correct. Peter whispered, you're terrifying, I like it. Later, Viera received a letter from her grandmother Zofia, written in perfect Latin. She groaned. Why does she still write in Latin? It's the 21st century. Peter peeked at the letter. She says, Carpe diem, Viera, don't embarrass the family. Viera rolled her eyes. Too late. That night, the school hosted a British vampire ball. Viera wore a velvet dress. Peter wore a mesh-powered tuxedo. Luke DJ'd with a playlist of Shakespearean sonnets remixed into dubstep. During the dance, Beatrice approached Viera. I must admit, she said, you're quite unorthodox. Viera smiled. Thanks, I conjugate house. Beatrice nodded. Would you like to join the debate club? Viera raised an eyebrow. Only if I get to argue that Latin is a conspiracy. Deal. By the end of the week, Viera had won the grammar duel, debated idioms with Luke, streamed her own podcast episode titled Velvet Rebellion Goes British, installed a mesh extender in the library, and taught Peter how to say bloody brilliant with a proper accent. As they packed to leave, Luke handed Viera a certificate for excellence in grammar, rebellion, and cultural chaos, he said. Viera grinned. I'll hang it next to my cage of shame photo. Peter kissed her cheek. You were amazing. I know, she said. Now let's go home and prank my Latin teacher. Grammar and vocabulary highlights. Created by Microsoft Copilot. British idioms. Bob's your uncle. Bloody brilliant fancy. Irregular verbs. Go, see, take, write, eat. Modal verbs. Must, admit. Would you like? Can I get? Dialogue variety, sarcasm, wit, cultural humor, vocabulary, mesh extender, blackout curtains, garlic detectors, conjugate house. This was, people, the story created by Microsoft Copilot. It was very funny, I like it. But look, it wasn't my story, it was the story created by Microsoft Copilot, but I think Luke likes good funny stories because Microsoft Copilot is very funny, as you can see, and I wanted to show how can you learn thanks to the stories created by Microsoft Copilot. You can read it and it can translate it into Slovak or Czech and it can analyze the story. You can add the new vocabulary, etc. It's a very good idea to do it, people. And now at first, the first story, I think this is the last story. Wait a minute. Yes, it is. Okay. And this is the last first story. Wait a minute, we are back. Yes, it is. Now, people, I want to read you the third story created by Microsoft Copilot, and it's inspired by my novel Viera the Vampire Girl. And now I'm going to read it. Title: Viera takes off. A vampire girl in Mallorca. Viera the Vampire Girl stood at the airport entrance, sunglasses on, suitcase in hand, and size fully loaded. Peter, she said, turning to her boyfriend, if they make me take off my boots at security, I'm biting someone. Peter grinned. You promised no biting until after boarding. I lied. They were headed to Mallorca for a romantic vacation. Sun, sea, and sangria, minus the garlic. But first, they had to survive the airport jungle. At the check-in counter, a cheerful agent named Tomáš greeted them. Good morning, destination? Mallorca, Viera said. Preferably window seat. Preferably far from crying babies. Preferably with legroom for my dramatic poses. Tomáš blinked. Oh, okay. Passport, please. Viera handed over the vampire ID. Tomáš squinted. This says you're 143 years old. I moisturize, Viera said. Pete leaned. She is timeless, like bad airport coffee. Tomáš chuckled. You two are trouble. We're legacy, Viera corrected. At security, Viera faced her nemesis, the metal detector. Ma'am, said the guard, please remove all metal items. Viera sighed. That includes my belt, my earrings, and my dignity. Peter whispered, don't forget the silver stake you keep for emergencies. I'm not removing that, Viera hissed. It's fashion. The guard raised an eyebrow. Is that a flask? It's blood. I'm a vampire. Hydration matters. Ma'am, you can't bring liquids over 100 milliliters. Viera groaned. Fine, I'll drink it now. Peter watched as she downed the flask like a shot of espresso. Classy, he said. Thirsty, she replied. Once through security, they wandered the terminal. Viera strutted past, duty-free like it was a runaway. Peter, she said, should I buy perfume that smells like rebellion? Only if it comes with a mesh extender. They passed a souvenir shop. Viera picked up a snow globe with a tiny airplane inside. This is ridiculous, she said. Who wants snow in Mallorca? People who fear sunburn. Peter replied. At the gate they met Lucia, a gate agent with a clipboard and a mischievous smile. Boarding soon, she said. Are you two ready for takeoff? Viera leaned in. I was born ready. Also, I don't do turbulence. Lucia winked. That's it near the wing. Less bounce, more glam. Peter whispered. She flirts with everyone. She respects my aura, Viera said. On the plane, Viera took the window seat. Peter sat beside her, adjusting his travel mesh router. Across the aisle, a man sneezed. Viera turned to Peter. If he sneezes garlic, I'm jumping out. Relax, Peter said. I brought garlic-free snacks. A flight attendant named Marco approached. Would you like something to drink? Viera smiled. Do you have blood with a splash of cranberry? Marco blinked. We have tomato juice. Close enough. Peter asked for sparkling water. Marco handed it over with a wink. For the handsome tech guy. Viera narrowed her eyes. Back off, Marco. He's mine. But Marco laughed. I respect the velvet. Mid-flight, the captain announced turbulence. Viera clutched Peter's hand. If we crash, I want my tombstone to say, she conjugated house and flew with flair. Peter kissed her cheek. You land like a queen. Viera looked out the window. Clouds whirled like wiped cream. The sun peeked through. This is romantic, she whispered. Peter nodded. And slightly terrifying. They landed in Mallorca with applause from the passengers. Viera bowed dramatically. Thank you, she said. I accept this landing as a personal victory. At baggage claim, her suitcase arrived with a broken zipper. Peter, she said, my suitcase exploded. My velvet is exposed. Peter handed her a beach towel. Wrap it like a toga. You look nifty. Outside the sun blazed. Viera hissed. Too bright, she said. Peter handed her SP500 for vampires who vacation. They arrived at their beachfront hotel, greeted by Diego, the receptionist. Welcome to Hotel Sol y Sombra, he said. You must be Viera and Peter. Viera smiled. We're here to relax, flirt, and maybe overthrow the sun. Diego laughed. Your room has blackout curtains and a minibar with blood popsicles. Peter whispered. This place gets us. On the beach, Viera wore a wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses the size of dinner plates. Peter set up a mesh-powered umbrella. Signal strong, he said. We can stream The Simpsons while tanning. Viera lay back on the towel. I don't tan, I shimmer. Peter kissed her hand. You shimmer like rebellion. They watched the waves crash, listened to seagulls argue, and shared garlic-free tapas. Viera turned to Peter. This was perfect. House at the airport, drama in the sky, and now romance on the beach. Peter smiled. You're my favorite flight risk. Viera leaned in. And you're my favorite signal night. They kissed as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light over the Velvet Queen and her mesh-powered king. And now, people, I'm going to read you grammar and vocabulary highlights created from this story. It was created by Microsoft Copilot. Modal verbs must be, can't, bring, should I buy. Phrasal verbs take off, hand over, land like. Idioms and humor, flight risk, conjugated house, respect to velvet. Dialogue variety, flirtatious, sarcastic, dramatic. Vocabulary, airborne terms, travel slang, vampire, twists. This story was created by Microsoft Copilot. It was funny and wild, and I like it. As you can see, Microsoft Copilot can create perfect funny stories if you want. And now I think this, yes. And now I want to read you two stories. The same but a little different stories. They are inspired by my novel. I'm sorry, people. Viera, the Vampire Girl Diary, and these two stories were created by Gemini AI. Yes, people, I tried to the help of Gemini AI, and because I wanted to know if it can create good and funny and wild stories and romantic stories, and I have to tell you, Gemini AI can create perfect romantic and funny stories. And I was inspired, and I want to create my own story as chapter 4 for next podcast weekend. That is next Saturday, but we'll see when or what. Everything can change, we'll see. And now I want to read you the story inspired by my novel Viera the Vampire Girl, and it was created by Gemini AI. I'm going to read you. A first anniversary Viera style. The air in the velvet bed, a restaurant so exclusive it didn't even have a sign, shimmered with a subtle, otherworldly glow. Peter adjusted his tie for the 10th time, his palms sweating. Tonight was their first dating anniversary, and Viera had chosen the venue. He'd heard whispers about this place. It catered to certain tastes. Relax, kitten. Viera's voice poured directly into his mind, smooth as aged blood wine. She floated into view, not walking, but appearing as if the shadows themselves coalesced into her stunning form. She wore a dress of shimmering midnight blue, its deep neckline a subtle note to her usual defiance or sartorial norms. Her long black hair cascaded around her, and her red eyes sparkled with mischievous delight. You look like you're about to be served as dinner, not for dinner. Very funny, Viera, Peter muttered, trying to look composed as he offered his arm. Happy anniversary, my darling. You look breathtaking. Viera leaned her arm with his, her touch sending a familiar shiver down his spine. Only breathtaking? My dear, I usually aim for heart-stopping, but I suppose for a mere mortal, breathtaking will do. Lead the way, my obedient servant. Peter, having learned long ago that arguing was futile, simply sighed and guided her to their table. The maître, a gowned man with eyes that lingered a moment too long on Viera's throat, bowed low. Ah, Lady Viera, a table for two, and for your guest. My Peter, Viera corrected, her red eyes narrowing slightly. He is not a guest. He is mine. And no, you may not look at his neck. His blood is not on the menu for anyone but me. Understood? The maître gulped, hastily backing away. Perfectly, Lady Viera. Your table awaits. As they sat, Peter noticed the other patrons. A pale woman elegantly consumed a ruby red liquid from a crystal flute. Across the room, a man with impossibly sharp teeth was carving into what looked suspiciously like a very large, rare steak, but the glint in his eyes suggested something far less bowing. Charming place, Peter managed, picking up a heavy ornate menu. He almost dropped it when he saw the first item, a positive, freshly drawn, lightly chilled. Viera giggled, a sound like tiny silver bells clinking in a graveyard. Oh, Peter, you should see your face. Relax, darling. They have other options for mortals. Fourth, I find their A negative particularly piquant tonight. She glanced at the menu, then at him. So, for our first anniversary, what shall we celebrate with? A delicious meal or a public display of affection that might get us banned from this establishment? Peter choked on his water. Peter choked on his water. Viera, my parents might be in the vicinity. Your parents? Viera arched a perfect eyebrow. My dear, they would likely applaud. Your mother especially encourages me my training methods for you. She finds your obedience delightful. A server, a young vampire with nervous energy, approached. Good evening, my lady. Sir, may I take your order? May I take your order? Yes, darling, Viera said sweetly. For me, the all negative warmed body temperature and a sight of enthusiasm. She winked at the server, who visibly flustered. And for my kitten, she continued, patting Peter's hand, he'll have, let's see, what are you in the mood for, my little lamb? My little lamb? Something that screams first anniversary joy? Peter quickly scanned the mortal section of the menu. I'll have the mushroom risotto, please, and a glass of sparkling water. The server scribbled it down. Excellent choices. And will that be all, my lady? Viera's red eyes gleamed. Actually, a little game for our anniversary. Peter, my love, tell me 3 things you adore about me. And be quick, or I might just decide your dinner isn't for you. Peter's mind raced. This was classic Viera. You're incredibly intelligent, he stammered, thinking of her sharp mind. And you're fiercely loyal to those you care about. He hesitated, and then, with a burst of courage, added, and you're the most breathtakingly beautiful woman I've ever seen. Even when you're threatening to drain my dry. Viera's lips curved into a satisfied smile. See, darling, that wasn't so hard. Loyalty, intelligence, and breathtaking beauty. You chose wisely. Though I believe your mother would add excellent at making me blush to that list. The server returned with their drinks. Viera took a long, sensual sip from her flute. Peter cautiously tasted his sparkling water. So, my darling Peter, Viera began, leaning in her voice a soft caress that still held an edge. Tell me, what did you really think about my introduction to your parents? Peter nearly dropped his fork. It was memorable. Your quiet, well-mannered act was truly convincing. Viera's eyes narrowed playfully. Act? My dear, everything I told them was true. I am quiet when I choose. I am well-mannered when I deem it necessary. And you were my first boyfriend. We hadn't touched. The blush was real, kitten. You make me feel things. She poked his arm teasingly, which is very inconvenient for a fearsome vampire goddess, I must say. Right, Peter said, still slightly stunned by her sincerity. And the part where you had the werewolves throw me in the garbage. A mere educational moment, darling. Viera waved a dismissive hand. You needed to understand the consequences of spreading unflattering truths about your lady. Besides, it made you excessively jealous that my kitten is always amusing. Their men courses arrived. Viera's all negative steaming slightly looked disturbingly fresh. Peter's risotto thankfully looked perfectly normal. To us, my love. Viera raised her glass, her red eyes looking onto his. Too many more years of you being me adorable, obedient kitten, and to me finding even more creative ways to torment you. Peter smiled, a genuinely loving smile. He knew she meant it. To us, Viera, and to me somehow surviving it all. Viera leaned across the table, her long black hair brushing his cheek. Her red eyes softened, a rare, tender look that sent his heart soaring. You always do, my love. You always do. And that, she whispered, her lips just inches from his ear, is precisely why I keep you. Then, just as Peter leaned in for a kiss, she mischievously snapped her fingers. The lights in the entire restaurant flickered, plunging them into a momentary darkness, punctuated by startled gasps from the other patrons. When the lights returned, Viera was already sitting back, a triumphant smirk on her face. Happy anniversary, kitten, she purred, taking another elegant sip from her glass. Peter just shook his head, a fond, exasperated smile on his face. This was Viera, and he wouldn't have her any other way. This story was, people, very interesting, funny, and it was inspired by my novel Viera the Vampire Girl Diary, and it was created by Gemini AI. I have to tell you, people, Gemini AI, it's good. And now I want to read you the second story. It's the same story, but it's better story created by Gemini AI, and it was inspired by my novel Viera the Vampire Girl Diary. I'm going to read you right now. Here is The Velvet Bed's Unforgettable Anniversary. The velvet bed didn't just have a subtle glow, it pulsed with the love through of ancient magic and the hushed whispers of patrons who definitely preferred their meals rare. Peter, in a suit that felt 3 sizes too small under Viera's intense gaze, nervously tugged in at his collar. Tonight, their first dating anniversary felt less like a celebration and more like an initiation ritual he was destined to fail. Kitten, you're positively radiating anxiety. Viera's voice, a silk-lined vibe, slithered into his mind. She appeared beside him in a swirl of shadows and expensive perfume, her dress a scandalously elegant crimson that looked just a little too deep, revealing what Peter fondly called the scenic growth. Her long black hair, a wild storm around her face, framed eyes that glowed like twin embers. Are you perhaps worried I'll devour you before this desert? Because, darling, that's always an option. Peter nearly tripped over his own feet as he offered his arm. Happy anniversary, my magnificent house. You look like you just stepped out of a forbidden dream. Viera linked her arm with his, her sharp nails gently, possessively tracing patterns on his bicep. Forbidden dreams are my specialty, my love and magnificent house. I do believe I'm growing on you. Now, remember the rules. No embarrassing me, no contradicting me, and absolutely no suggesting we share the appetizer. You know how territorial I get. The matter the vampire whose smile was all thanks, bowed so low, he almost disappeared into his waistcoat. Lady Viera, your usual table is prepared, and for you, adorable human, Viera's red eyes flared a flicker of pure predatory warning. He is my Peter, you audacious bad brain, and if you so much as think about offering him any special menus involving steaks of silver, I will personally redecorate this establishment with your internal organs, understood? The maître practically hyperventilated. Crystal clear, Lady Viera. My deepest apologies. This way, please. As they were seated at a secluded, well-draped booth, Peter noticed the ambience. A werewolf couple across the room was having a playful wrestling match over a bowl. Another table featured a cloaked figure delicately sipping from a goblet that might have once held a very unlucky beggar. This is certainly intimate, Peter ventured, picking up the menu. His eyes widened. Viera, they have fear-infused human essence as an aperitif. Viera leaned back, a smug smile playing on her lips. Oh, that's just for the tourists. Though, darling, sometimes when you're particularly flustered, you produce quite a delightful bouquet yourself. It's intoxicating. She then narrowed her eyes, focusing on him. Speaking of intoxicating, Peter, for our anniversary, I require a declaration. What is the single most outrageous, utterly scandalous thing you find irresistible about me? Peter blanched. This was a trap. A beautiful fang trap. Outrageous, scandalous, your casual disregard for human traffic laws when you transform into a bat to get groceries. Viera laughed. A dark melodic sound that turned heats. Acceptable but pedestrian. Try again, kitten. More personal, more perilous. A new server, a surprisingly muscular male vampire approached. Lady Viera, Peter, may I get you started? He flashed Viera a brazen smile, ignoring Peter completely. Viera's red eyes locked onto the server, a spark of possessive fire igniting. Darling, she purred, her voice dripping with honeyed menace. My Peter was just about to tell me something deeply personal. Perhaps you'd prefer to overhear from the kitchen. The server visibly stiffened, suddenly very interested in the table settings. Of course, my lady, my apologies. Now, Peter, Viera continued, turning her full attention back to him, her smile innocent yet terrifying. Your scandalous truth. Chop chop. Peter swallowed hard. He loved her, truly, madly, obsessively. It's the way you look at me sometimes, he began, finding his courage. Like you're deciding whether to kiss me or turn me into a permanent blood donor. That moment of delicious uncertainty. Viera's smirk widened into a full-blown grin. Her hand, cold yet electrifying, reached across the table to grip his. Oh, Peter, you do understand me. That's precisely why you're mine. I do love that look on your face when you're wondering if this is the night I finally break you or simply drive you wild. She squeezed his hand, then leaned in, her gaze dropping to his neck. Tonight, perhaps both. The server, now looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, returned. Ready to order, my lady? Indeed, Viera announced grandly. For me, a pint of the freshest AB negative, undiluted, with a single perfectly frozen tear of a frustrated mortal, and for my Peter he'll have the braised oxtail and a large glass of, what was it, darling? Oh yes, the tears of your rivals, I believe. Peter quickly interjected. Sparkling water, Viera, just sparkling water. Viera pouted. Spoil sport, fine, but a large sparkling water. He needs to stay hydrated for later. She winked at Peter, who turned a delightful shade of crimson. As they waited, Viera leaned back, her eyes scanning the room. You know, Peter, I do believe your father would appreciate this establishment. He has a certain enthusiasm for strong women, and their oxtail, I hear, is quite robust. Please, Viera, let's not invite my parents to our next anniversary, Peter pleaded. My mother might try to convert the mater to vegetarianism. Viera laughed, a low, rumbling sound that made the cutlery vibrate. Oh, my dear, your mother and I would get along splendidly over a bottle of the vintage blood. She understands the art of encouraging compliance. She taught me a few things about managing stubborn males. You know, like you. Their food arrived. Viera took an elegant sip of her blood. Ah, sublime. Peter, open your mouth. Peter blinked. What? Open your mouth, kitten. She repeated, a glint in her red eyes. She then, to his utter shock, dipped a finger into her goblet, dabbed a tiny drop of blood onto it, and then swiftly, playfully touched it to his lips. For good luck, darling. Happy anniversary. Peter's face was an explosion of emotions. Shock, embarrassment, and a tiny undeniable thrill. He could taste the faintly metallic sweetness of her offering. Viera, he gasped, wiping his mouth with his napkin. Oh, don't be such a drama queen, my love. She purred, looking thoroughly pleased with herself. It's our anniversary, a little taste of what's to come, perhaps, a preview of our eternal future. Peter, despite himself, couldn't help but smile. This was Viera, demanding, wild, completely unpredictable, and utterly madly, undeniably his. And tonight he wouldn't have it any other way. He reached across the table, took her hand, and kissed her knuckles right over her sharp, elegant nails. Happy anniversary, my magnificent vampire goddess. Thank you for making my life anything but boring. Viera's red eyes softened, a rare, tender vulnerability gleaming beneath the mischief. And thank you, my brave, foolish Peter, for making eternity worth living. Now, about that dance. Before Peter could answer, Viera stood, grabbed his hand, and with a burst of vampire speed, dragged him onto the dance floor. The band, a trio of skeletal musicians, immediately struck up a haunting, surprisingly sensual waltz. Viera, holding him close, whispered, "This is only the beginning, my kitten. You're stuck with me forever." Peter, spinning with her, laughed. I wouldn't have it any other way. The end. Oh, this story created by Gemini AI is excellent. It's too close to mine, and I want to do my own story inspired by this story, but don't worry, people, it will be my story. It will be more funny, more wild, and Viera has to be more dominant and more funny and more flirtatious with everyone else. And Peter has to be quiet, and as always, you can trust me. This story was perfect, and I really recommend you, Peter, as I am. People, I wanted to say people use the help of AI chatbots. They can be very good English teachers. It can give you very good feedback. It can create stories. It can inspire you for creating your own novel that has to be about your stories, and it can find a lot of information for you. And yes, people, I have a very good, new, fantastic info from the kitchen of Peter's English podcast. I've introduced that I have to move my fourth mesh Wi-Fi unit to the opposite side of the living room of my ground floor, and I discovered the signal is strong and perfect. Now my mesh system works perfectly. I use fourth deco unit, and every unit is in its own room, and it works, and the signal is perfect. I'm really happy that I can use the Wi-Fi created of my both main routers. One is in the kitchen, and the second one is the mesh system that use 4 units. People, you have to use it if you live in big large houses. But people, the system works in this setup that you have to choose one unit that has to be connected to your main router via LAN cable, and other units can connect via LAN cables if you can. But if you cannot connecting them directly to main unit, you can connect them to it via Wi-Fi, but they have to be close to the main unit, and it can work, and it works for me. People use it when you have your fiber optic internet via electric poles. It works perfectly, and for now I've created this week 7 new episodes. I have to recommend. Yes, I can recommend my favorite English podcast that you can listen, follow, and subscribe, and YouTube and your podcast app. Don't forget. And I want to tell you that learning English can be funny, interesting, and educational, and it can be your lifestyle. This episode was inspired by Luke's English podcast reading stories, but I've used the help of AI chatbots. And what now in the end of this episode? I've been streaming for 52 minutes. My voice is okay. I don't know why my voice wasn't very good. It maybe I was very... I don't know what happens. I'm okay. I'm not ill. I'm very happy. And I want to tell you that the best idea how to practice your speaking skills in English is your own English podcast, and it can work. And don't care if your podcast is not popular. It doesn't matter. You are doing it because you like it. And yes, what to talk about? I don't know. Yes, from the kitchen of Peter's English podcast, I want to tell you that I want to continue with writing my chapters for season 2 of my English novel, Viera the Vampire Girl Diary, because I like writing my own chapters for my new novel, Viera the Vampire Girl Diary. But the funny situation is that my podcast is published thanks to my Spotify for creators RSS feed, I created my own YouTube channel, and I'm streaming and recording on my Twitch via OBS Studio, but I don't have any audience, and I discovered that I have 24 subscribers on YouTube, but I don't know if why they want to subscribe me. I don't know if they want to make fun of me in the bad way or what. And I discovered that I have 10 subscribers on Spotify. I don't know why and who they are. Who are these people? But I don't care because it's about me. But I want to tell you, people who like my story, I think my English story, my content, my podcast, and my novel Viera the Vampire Girl Diary, and other my stories. That's great. Please follow me. and we can create our Peter's English podcast community where that has to be a community of English learners whose lifestyle is learning English, watching movies and series in English, listening to their favorite English podcasts and audiobooks in English, doing their own English podcast, and writing their own novels. Because I want to talk, and because I want to practice with the same people like me. But I don't trust people in general, I have to tell you, because I had a lot of bad experience with people. But if you are serious about learning English, you are writing your own English novel and you're doing your own English podcast, we can create real Peter's English podcast community, and we can do live streams together, and we can stream and record on Twitch via OBS Studio together and have fun, and we can show the whole planet how to learn English in the fun and modern way, and it can be funny because I want to do it. But if I don't find I'm not looking for someone. No, I'm happy with my podcasting, with my podcast, with my life, I'm happy that with my hobby, that is my lifestyle, that is learning English, doing my Peter's English podcast, and writing my own English novel. I'm happy with my lifestyle, and I have to connect with people who like learning English, who are doing their own English podcast and write their own English novel like me, because I want to connect with similar people like me that like learning English in general. And that's it. This is very important for me, and I want to show you that learning English can be fun. And what else from the kitchen of Peter's English podcast? Thanks to my new fiber optic internet and my perfect mesh system, I can stream and record everywhere from my house, and that's great. And I've been podcasting from June 2024 until now, and I like it. And I like the episode on my podcast where I'm publishing the new chapters on my English novel Viera, the Vampire Girl Diary. Yes, I'm looking on my display, because yes, I have to tell again that when I'm looking on my webcam, I'm nervous. I'm scared of my webcam. But when I'm looking at myself, it on the display is this is shadowing. You know, it's called, this method is called practicing practicing your speaking skills with the mirror, and that's great because I'm doing something real. I'm publishing my own English content while I'm practicing my speaking skills in English, and that's great. And please, people, don't watch Slovak or Czech television. They are boring. You can buy streaming services from the internet, and you can watch movies and series in English with English subtitles, yes, of course. And you can listen to your favorite English podcast whatever you're doing, and that's great because there is a big world of English podcasts, and you can listen to your favorite English audiobooks, because there is a lot of services that offer perfect audiobooks from every authors from the world, and that's great. And thanks to your own English podcast and writing your own English novel, you have a lot. You can do a lot of things, and that's great. It's your hobby. It can be your hobby. But please don't use Duolingo. Duolingo is not for you. It's only this app is for playing. It's not. It was it isn't created for learning English. You cannot learn English with that. Yes, the stories on Duolingo are great, but don't use this app. Is a scam. Is something bad and evil. Don't use it. You cannot learn English with it. You explain me. Yes, explain me. One thing. Have you realized that in Duolingo you are learning only American English, but you can learn and you can listen to American dialects, but you don't practice your speaking skills. You are not learning British English. Because there is because there are a lot of British accents that you don't know until now, and you can find them in not in my podcast, no, in Luke's English podcast. Yes, people listen to and listen to, subscribe and follow Luke's English podcast. It's an award-winning British English podcast created by Luke Thompson. He's an English teacher, stand-up comedian. He is podcasting for. He's been podcasting for 15 years, and his podcast is about natural British English, how it's spoken, and you can find a lot of British English accents that you cannot find in Duolingo. Yes, people, you don't know anything about other American accents, because there are a lot of American accents. You know nothing about Canadian English. You don't know about South Africa English. You don't know anything about Australian English. This and trust me, you need to know a lot of different English accents. Yes, of course. But the best way how to practice your listening skills is find your own English podcast and use the help of AI chatbots. This is the future, and you can do something, and you can learn it with a funny way. And how? Yes, I've been rambling for 15 minutes, and I've been streaming and recording for 1 hour 2 minutes. I think that's it. That's it for this episode. I think that's enough for one episode. I'm like, look, my hero. And that's great. What else? I don't know. I can tell you that the last sport that I watch is Formula 1, and the fantasy and today's race wasn't very interesting, because Verstappen won again. I don't know if you like Verstappen, but my opinion, but I don't like him because he is crazy. I'm sorry, Verstappen, but it's only my opinion. And but I don't have my heroes, because Formula 1 is for it's sport that is about sponsors. If you want to be a good driver, you need a lot of you have to have a lot of rich sponsors. And this sport is not, yes, it's about talent, but I think every driver in Formula 1 is talented enough for this sport. But there are a lot of monopoles with different speed and quality, and this sport is about monopoles, and it's true. But it was very funny that the first that McLaren were the most that McLaren were the best team and drive F1 team, and Piastri with Norris were very fast, but these last two races was the big victory of Red Bull and these two last races won Verstappen. Who knows what will happen in the future, but I don't know if Verstappen can win again, but he has to win a lot of first places if he wants to win. Yes, people, I watched this sport, and this is the last sport, because I was a big sport fan, but I found better lifestyle, that is learning English, watching movies and series in English, listening to my favorite English podcasts and audiobooks, drawing my Peter's English podcast, and writing my own novel Viera the Vampire Girl diary. But I think that's it. That's enough. Because I'll be streaming for 1 hour and 6 minutes, and I think that's enough of practicing my speaking skills in English. And yes, keep learning English, because this is your future. Teach your children English, because English is their future. Don't forget that you have to learn English, and your children have to learn English too when they want to be successful in the future, because English is an international language. The whole world speaks English. English is the main language of the business, the internet, the international language number one of the internet is English, and there are a lot of English content that you can listen and watch on internet, and that's great. You have a lot of options what to listen, what to watch on YouTube and on your podcast app, and that's great. And yes, there is a big world of English audiobooks that you can listen. You can simply choose your favorite English audiobook and read and listen in the same time. Okay, I think that's it. That's it for this episode, and I want to tell you bye bye.